Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Agent in Action. Today we're discussing hackathons, and we're talking about from idea to impact, why you should join a SmythOS Hackathon. And today I'm Amber Graner, head of community here at SmythOS, and I'm joined with Alaa-eddine Kaddouri, who's our VP of engineering, and Brian Rogers, Brian, you are VP of product.
Yeah, in enterprise relationships.
And enterprise relationships. So, we got a cast who has a lot of experience, and we're really lucky to have Brian with us today, who has a lot of experience, around universities and businesses and this agentic AI world, to talk about why it's important to gain this knowledge.
Great. Amber, thanks for the introduction.
Yes. So, we're forging the future here with these hackathons, and, being able to participate and build agents is sometimes expensive. And so when you're joining the hackathon, we're giving you the opportunity to learn, to build, to connect, and compete. Who doesn't like a good competition? I know I do. It kind of drives me sometimes. You never want to play me a Monopoly because I get vicious, but we get the opportunity to compete along the way of learning something, and also connecting with other folks out there who are doing the same. So on today's session, we'll show you how SmythOS hackathons are the fastest way for you to learn, build, and stand out in this agentic AI world that we're in. So AI agents are the next apps. So agents automate, orchestrate, quote unquote, think. And we want you to be able, to put all that context together. And when you think about that, our agents, we make agent creation more accessible and scalable. I think someone said easy or simple, and it's not necessarily simple, but it's more accessible. And the hackathons are your way of getting into this space, or entering into the future of AI. I don't know, Brian, if you've got a thought on that, about being AI agents being the next apps, or how we do that. But I don't know if you want to wait till later to give a viewpoint, but we can certainly talk to this a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, I would say that, a lot of people say that it's an exciting time to be alive. It's something you hear. I think everybody has heard this throughout their life in different generations, but I really believe that this is a very exciting time to be alive, because AI agents as apps really is a game changer in the way that development is done, the way that apps are deployed. I mean, this is really a significant changing point within the technical industry and for non-technical folks. I mean, the fact that you can build these apps without necessarily being a programmer anymore. Alaa-eddine, do you have any viewpoint on that? I mean, you're coming from a very technical background, so you're watching this unfold.
Yeah, well, the exciting thing here is that for technical people, for a while, we were working with deterministic programming languages, right? So when you are technical, you are not surprised with the outcome of your program. So you make a code, you run it, you know what are the outcomes. And like it was like kind of boring when you have like long experience in development and so forth. It becomes like mechanical. You write code, you get the outcome and so forth. When AI came, it was like a very exciting moment, because for the first time in a while, you get this same excitement when you were a kid and you write your first Hello World program, right? And you see something printing in the screen. And it's same thing with LLMs, because we never know what will be printed or generated. And it brings like a whole new approach to how you build stuff, how you implement architectures and so forth. And it was an exciting moment, because it opens the door to new level of creativity and architecture, problem solving, and so forth. So yeah, very exciting. And as you said, it's very exciting moments to be alive. Yeah.
And Alaa-eddine, I can totally relate to that. Something you may not know about me, but I started programming when I was 10 years old. So I remember that the first Hello World and many other Hello Worlds and other different languages I developed in. But I remember how, complex it is. It was a lot of work, quite laborious to build applications, but with this new AI as apps and developing apps, you virtually just tell the application or the AI what you want built, and it builds.
Yeah, and speaking of building, being part of these hackathons, that's what we're doing. We're helping people build their skills, their visibility, and the momentum around it. And I think that's what that excitement, what you guys are referring to. I'm afraid to say what my first computer was, but it started with a TRS way back in the day. And so we're having people have that hands-on experience with cutting edge AI tools, which is what the excitement you all were talking about. And you get to collaborate with global builders and mentors, because we have mentors that are sitting in our Discord channels to help folks out. And if you're with a university, you have mentors there that join in. Not only that, but you get to earn recognition, you get prizes, and we add visibility to whatever you build. And so I think layering that excitement that you all were just talking about with your first Hello World and stuff like that, and the ability to just tell, whatever tool you're using what to do, and then it creates this thing. Obviously, it's not magic like that. You got to put a little bit of work and thought and effort into it. The ideation part has to be solid in order to get the agent to be solid. But this is what we're offering. We're offering folks the opportunity to join a hackathon and build those skills, gain visibility, and add to the momentum around this agentic AI world that we're in. And so with that, we're mentioning global. So maybe you don't know, or maybe you do, but we're open source, and that open piece is very important to us. So we do have our open source side of it with our SRE, our SDK, and our studio now. SmythOS itself is an open core product if you're wanting to get into the SaaS part of it, because it's built on this core of open source. So we are open, we're global, it's agentic, and these hackathons give everybody the ability to either meet in person if an organization wants to hold a in-person hackathon. We'll support you on that, but we can also do virtual ones too, and they're open to all skill levels. Everybody's technical. I'm more technical than some people, and obviously there's people more technical than me, and then so we all have technical skills, but it's open to all skill levels. We might not all write code, but we all do have technical abilities. And so I don't want anybody to think that you have to be at the VP of engineering's skill level in order to participate in this. If you just have an idea, or you say, oh, I wish I could write an agent, or I wish I had an agent to do XYZ, we want you to join these hackathons, and we want you to create that and then share it with the world, because we're going to teach you how to do that. So you're going to get, again, mentorship, real world data sets, if we need to include it based on the themes that we set. And then the winning agents will feature here on Agents in Action and on our SmythForged site. In the next coming weeks before the end of the year, you'll be able to actually, we'll be featuring some of the winners from our hackathon in Bangladesh. It's called Hack the AI. And there were 50 teams. It started out with 600 people. And then it narrowed it down to 50 teams and 150 people from 14 different universities. And so that's really important, considering, this was Green University in Bangladesh who held this one earlier. So it was an amazing thing. And I want to play this video. This could be your university or your organization. started again. So, so with that, I want to turn it over to you, Brian. And I want you to talk about the vision that you have, because you have this great vision of what it really looks like to empower the next generation of AI innovators through universities and other, you know, organizations and entrepreneurs. And so I want you to take as much time as you need to explore this topic with our audience today.
Great. Thanks, Amber. You know, I just want to revisit something you said earlier. With my exposure in universities, I think a lot of the folks that are watching this are either in college or graduate from college. I did both my undergraduate and graduate degree, but after I got my graduate degree, I went back and continued to guest lecture at Columbia University, and I also started forming different tech groups. One was in the blockchain space, and one was in machine learning. And I can tell you one thing that really excited me about what I saw with my guest lecturing and some of these groups I was forming was really the collaboration with teams. This is where it gets really exciting. Like you saw in that video, where all these teams of students coming together on different ideas. You know, when you bring all your minds together to come up with these interesting ideas, what you can build is really quite remarkable. You know, what I've found is, you know, you have individuals that have great ideas, but to execute these great ideas, you really need a team of people that have other strengths to come together. This is much different than you sitting alone in your bedroom coding. This is you're coming together with groups of people. And what I saw in my time with, for instance, the Machine Learning Society in New York was we were developing some really interesting projects. A lot of them were through a Kaggle program, this online site that gives you ideas, and then you come together and compete and build out different machine learning models. This is not that much different. And where this is very different, however, from what I was doing a few years ago, was now with AI and the agentic frameworks, it's much easier to develop this. So it doesn't, and now echo again what Amber said earlier, this does not require you to be a technical person to do this. In fact, you know, a few years ago when I was doing a class to a group of high school students from around the world, and they were asking, you know, Brian, I'd really love to get into computer science and programming, but I'm not, you know, mathematically inclined. I'm not a technical person. Do you think that there's a future for me in AI? And what I've said to people to that class was, that surprised a lot of people. I said, you know, I believe that in the future, the people that will be the best programmers will be people that have degrees in art, in philosophy, in history, because so much is being done by AI. We've all seen how rapidly our world is changing with AI, and it's, you know, it's just mind-blowing to think where we're going to be in even 5 years from now. So this is really a time for everybody involved. So what I would say really to focus in on this is, one, you're building skills that you can bring into a corporation that makes you very valuable. And two, a lot of you may decide you want to just go off on your own. You know, I think it's really interesting the quotes I'm hearing from people like Sam Altman. Sam Altman believes, and I agree with them, that there will soon be solo entrepreneurs that are billionaires. I mean, that's just kind of crazy. And then small teams reaching up to, say, $1 trillion in revenue. You know, when you look at some of the examples of AI companies today and their level of success, do you know companies like Midjourney, for instance, group of college kids that got together and they built this company. And when they were about 100 people, they were generating close to 500 million in revenue. You know, in the old standards, a $500 million company would be thousands of people. You know, the fact that you can have 100 people or under 100 people. So, you know, let that sink in. When they were just a handful of people, they were making over 100 million in revenue. So this is really the power of this knowledge that you gain coming together and understanding how to build these applications in these hackathons. You know, and as Amber said earlier, we have mentors here so this is not you going into this blind. You know, don't be afraid to come into this because you don't know enough about agentic AI, or you don't know enough about how to build agents. We have people that will help and guide you through this. So this is really open to everybody. So again, what I would say, just to reiterate, the thing that really excites me about this new world of hackathons, it's not just developers, it's everybody. So I strongly encourage everybody to come in and build some pretty amazing stuff. I mean, who knows? One of you could be the next Bill Gates or the next Sam Altman, coming from a project that you built at one of these hackathons. Amber, anything that you'd like to share or add, or Alaa-eddine?
Go ahead, Alaa-eddine, if you want to wait, and if you have anything.
Yeah, I perfectly agree with what Brian said, and our goal is to make this accessible to everyone through our platform. We have multiple ways that helps you build agents from scratch, be it from like drag and drop, visual builder, using an AI that builds your AIs, or through SDK for developers if you want to get started with the SDK. And I will try to show you very quickly a few things, and we will cover the details in future webinars as well.
So
And Amber, one thing I want to cover,
yeah.
sorry to jump in like this, but another thing I think that's really important to mention, for all of you that are graduate level students, and you have been assigned a capstone or a thesis that you're working on, this is also a great opportunity for you to really augment what you're doing in your graduate project. So, and we've already started to see this with a number of universities that have come to us, the students saying, we want to use agent-based applications for our projects in our graduate studies.
That's a great point, Brian. And we want to make it easy for you to do that. So if you have ideas about that, or you want us to get involved with you and your university, please let us know. We'll be able to help you out with that as well. And I wanted to kind of segue into what we talked about a little bit. You have an idea and you want to create an agent, and then you want to deploy it. And Alaa-eddine just talked about it a little bit, but you're going to be able to create agents using our open source SRE and SDK, or our studio, or we're not going to limit you and keep you from using our open core SaaS options either. And you'll be able to see how to add logic, the data sources, the memory. Everything is traceable and trackable. And then you'll be able to deploy it to our SmythForged site. And so we want you to, if you're thinking about joining a hackathon, if you have an idea, and if you've never even thought about joining a hackathon, we want you to join one of ours. We're going to be, like I said, offering virtual ones or in-person ones. Or if you're listening to this today and you think my university would be great to host one of these, or my organization would love to host one of these, like say you're in the medical field, or you're in oil and gas, or you're in retail, and you think, you know what, my company would love to sponsor one of these hackathons to create a solution that we're looking at. And here's our theme, and here's what we want to do. Like, that would be a great idea too. So think about what ideas you have, what agent you want to create, and what that deployment would look like. And then Alaa-eddine, I believe you're up next to talk about and dive deeper into these resources. Do I need to stop sharing so you can share your screen now?
Yeah, I will share my screen. Thank you, Amber. Yeah. Okay, give me a second. I'm preparing my screen. So yeah, I will go through our repo. This is a place where you can find all the links that Amber shared, GitHub/SmythOS. So here you can see our project. So we have the SmythOS runtime environment. This is the core of our system. This is also where you can, if you want to contribute to SmythOS, where you contribute to the core. We have SmythOS Studio. This is our visual builder, and we have SmythForged this is where you can share your ideas or what you've built with SmythOS. So for Smyth runtime environment, as I said, this is the core of our system, and you can use it in let's say two different ways. If you are a developer who want to contribute to our repo, you can fork our repo and add your contributions and share it with us. Or you can also use the Smith SDK in order to just build agents with code. If you are a developer, this would interest you. And if we have time, I will show an example of how to install the SRE on your computer, how to use it to create a project, and how to build your first agent in like less than 3 minutes. So and you can navigate here the README file. There are some video tutorials that you can watch and so forth. There is a technical documentation here for the SDK, Smith runtime environment, and how to get started, and so forth. The second project that I mentioned is the Smith Studio. This is the visual builder that you can install with Docker. Go back to the webinar of last week. We covered Docker install from scratch on your computer. So if you struggle or if you have any difficulties installing it, don't hesitate to join our Discord and ask your questions or open an issue in our repo. And you can also watch the video that we already shared with the community. Here again, you have a README file for getting started quickly, but also for contributors who want to just come and jump in and help us improving our product. And the last link is SmythForged. So this is where you would share with us your creations. And in order to do that, you will need to create an account. This can be easily created by, you would sign in with your email. You will receive a code to enter here. And once you sign in, you will see a button here appearing where you can submit your proposition. And it's typically a form where you describe the agent or the code that you created. You can share the links to your tutorial videos, to documentation video. If you build the agent with code, you can share your GitHub repo. If you built it with SmythOS, you can share a URL to your agent, and so forth. And we will evaluate these agents. I can maybe, if we have time, I will log in just to show how it works. SmythOS.com. And okay. Yeah, I will need to confirm my login. Give me a second.
Two-factor at its best.
Yeah. Okay, here I'm logged in, and I can see, you can see here the submissions from other people. So to get some inspiration or see what have been already built in SmythForged. And here you can click Submit App, and here you can, fill the form and add information about your submission and so forth. If you are participating to a hackathon, you can also fill this optional part. So we know that this submission is part of a hackathon, because sometimes there are special prizes or benefits to participating in hackathons. And yeah, that's it. There are also here you have your profile if you want to customize your username, and there are also some benefits of subscribing to the SaaS product. We have a SaaS as well. If you don't want to install it locally, just want to run our cloud version, you have some benefits here when you subscribe and submit to SmythForged. So back to our product. So I will start by covering very quickly the Visual Builder. So here, when you log into Visual Builder, you get in this screen, first login, you will not see any agents here, and you can click this button to create agents. Once your agents are created, you see here I have many agents that I already created. You can open them, edit them, and so forth. So an agent is typically represented with this kind of layout. You have an agent's card that specifies the agent name. You can describe the behavior. You can choose which LLM model is running your agent, and you define or you create your agent skills. An agent skill is something like an API endpoint that will run a workflow, and the workflow is composed of multiple components that you can see here. You can drag and drop your components and use them. These will be typically covered like one by one in several future webinars. But you can see here, most of them are self-explanatory, like this Gen AI LLM component. This typically allows you to use Gen AI LLM components, Gen AI LLM providers. You can have prompts here that can use your input variables. Let's say, if I enter a variable here, I can use it in my prompt right here. And you can create dynamic prompts like this to use them with your Gen AI components. If you need help, you can click this small button or view documentation, and this will open the documentation. There are videos, documentation for every component. There are like this long description for the components and so forth. So you can get started and discover the components that you would use. Typically, the components I use like every day in my agents are these basics. This is why we put them at the top. So we generate with LLMs, we generate images. Classifiers is like an LLM, but specialized in classifying information. And then I usually use this API call because it allows me to do anything I want with external services. If I want to call something external, I can do it with this one. So for example, this agent that I created here, it has 3 skills. One is to search crypto coins, one is to get price of a coin, and one is to allows to get market information. And they all use the CoinGecko free API to get this information here. So it's a very simple agent, but can be like useful if you just want to, if you are in the crypto market and just want quick information. When you build an agent, you can easily test it with this test button. There are multiple forms of agents. We call them embodiments. This is how you communicate or you consume your agent. So for example, here I can ask question like, what is the current Bitcoin price? And my agent will go run a skill. The skill is get price. You saw some animation here. So you see that the skill was called, the response was returned, and then the agent can respond me. That's easy, and this is how we create an agent. When you are happy with your agent, you can deploy it, and deployment will make your agent available publicly. If you want to protect it, there is also an option in the agent to secure access. So you can configure an OAuth or IDC. This is typically can be configured with providers like Auth0 or like Log2. There are many providers that allow you to create free OIDC accounts and use them to authenticate your agent. Or if you want simplicity, you can just add a hard-coded key here that need to be provided to the agent before you can make any calls. But if you just want to implement a public agent, for example, to share it in SmythForged or use it for your own usage, you can just do that. Or you can decide to not deploy your agents and just use it from the builder using the test button. There are other options of running agents. I mentioned the Smith SDK. One option is when you are happy with your agent, let's say you are a developer and you want to run this agent with code. You can go right-click here and click Export Agent, right? And when you export it, you will save it in a file with a .smith extension. From there, you can either re-import it in another Smith builder or run this agent with the SDK. I will go now to the SDK, to our Smith repo, and I will show you here in examples folder, we have a lot of examples of how to create and run agents with code. And one of them is this one, agent Smith file. So in this folder, you have 2 code examples showing you how to import a Smith agent and run it from the SDK. So here, it's pretty simple. You see, most of this code is just comments, you see. So here, I'm just importing my SDK objects. And then all I have to do is agent.import, and I pass the agent path. And then I need to specify which model will run my agent. It can be GPT or Claude or whatever. And from there, my agent is imported, and I can use it with my SDK. So the SDK provides many abstraction layers that helps you, again, consume or talk to your agent in many different ways. The basic one is agent.prompt, and this will send the question to the agent and wait for the full response to come back. But there are other ways to consume the agent, for example, through streaming. You can expose your agent as an MCP and so forth. If you want to see all the possibilities of how you can run and consume an agent with the SDK, I recommend you to go to this SDK documentation, right? And here, well, there are a lot of details here, full API reference, many tutorials and documentation. But this cheat sheet gives you code snippets to do a lot of things. Like pretty much everything you would need to do with an agent can be found here. How to declare an agent, how to create a skill, how to directly call an agent. You see here, we are calling a skill directly. This is the prompt that I just showed you. This is how you attach files to a prompt, and so forth. Everything is described here, and we regularly update this page to add the latest things that we think are important for you to build an agent. So typically, if you are in a hackathon, you have the time constraint, you want to build fast, just go to this page and you can like copy paste the code snippets, or go to the examples repo that I just showed you. Like you go to the main Smith repo examples folder, and here you have many examples that you can use. So the SDK allows you to run a .smith file, but it also allows you to create agents with code. And I will take an example here. An agent with code is an agent that you declare here. You describe the behavior of your agent, and you also code the agent skills. The difference is that in the visual builder, if you remember, I created 3 skills to my crypto agent, and these 3 skills was using drag drop components. I exported it as a .smith file, and then I run it. But I can also do it with pure code. I can use this add skill function, and this add skill allows me to implement full custom code to run my agent. There are plenty of examples here in our repo that you can use. So do we have some time for a demo, Amber?
No, I think we're a little over now, but I think this has been really important. It's been really important so people can see that there's multiple ways they can participate in the hackathon, and multiple ways to get started with SmythOS, and many different approaches to that. And so let me share this again. So as we just looked through all of these resources that Alaa-eddine was talking about, and how you can get started. So again, to re-emphasize, you don't need to be at Alaa-eddine's level and writing code to participate. You can do it with the SaaS. You can do it with our Smyth Studio, which we talked about last week. And so if you're getting these invites, then you've got the link to last week's Agent in Action as well. So I just want everyone to not be intimidated. I want you to be able to take those ideas and realize that you can go from idea to deployment in a very short amount of time by participating in one of our hackathons. So, so how does it work? You're gonna, once we get everything set up, which should be in about 10 days, we should have everything ready. You're going to register for the event. You're going to build your agent. You're going to submit it to SmythForged. You're going to get featured and win prizes. Pretty simple to do that. We're working on a portal for planners. And then we'll also have a page for those who want to participate. From there, and again, we want you to think about, do you want to participate in a hackathon? Do you want to host a hackathon, or do you want to sponsor a SmythOS hackathon? If you want to do any of these, just email us at hackathon@smythos.com, and we'll be able to reply and get that back to you. And as we're finishing up here, we've got a few minutes for questions. So if you have questions or you have thoughts around participating in a hackathon or anything that Alaa-eddine shared, raise your hand, write it in the chat section, and we'll answer those questions. But before we get there, I would just want to remind everybody that you can get started today. You can go to our GitHub repo, and if you like what you see, we want you to star it. You can spin up your first agent by joining SmythForged, following those steps Alaa-eddine talked about. You can walk through a tutorial on the SmythOS Academy. We've got our bookmark, bookmark the docs so you can find them. Go join our Discord channel and say hi in Discord. And again, check out our YouTube channel. And we'll have our next meeting on the 4th, on November 4th, will be our next community meeting. And we'll be talking about all the agents and actions that have happened between now and our last one. And we'll be talking about our hackathons and all of those things. So I'll share these links to the invite, and we'll attach the slides in our description on our YouTube channel as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We want to hear your questions and go from there. We've got about 7 minutes. So if anybody has questions, or Alaa-eddine or Brian, if you've got thoughts after we go through all this, what you're thinking about now, or maybe you've got more ideas and you've been inspired about what we've seen. So Brian, what about you, while we're waiting on to see if there's questions?
Alaa-eddine, your explanation was awesome. And I just, my mind starts really spinning and thinking of different ideas. But one of the things that I know we can do that you didn't talk about was, if you have an idea and you want to spin up a front end, let's say in Lovable or Replit or any one of these vibe coding front end tools, you can take the agents you build and bring those skills into your front end app that you create in, say, Lovable. Alaa-eddine, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to the conversation. So one of the features, of course, as you saw in my agent example, so every agent skill in SmythOS can also be exposed as an API endpoint. From there, you have SmythOS will provide you with an open API.json file that you can then use to generate the interfaces, or like just write your own code to call these API endpoints. And from there, it opens the door to all kind of things, because you have the entry point to call something, and this can be like a simple agent skill that just calls another API, or it can be very complex, such as generating AI content, parsing text, combining, doing RAG, and then returning a result. But all this complexity is handled with drag and drop inside SmythOS, and you can then control it via an external app, or call it via an external app like Lovable and others. So SmythOS becomes like an backend of your front-end app. And you can easily update it, because if you need to add new features, or if you need to update your existing features, you go to SmythOS and you drag drop your component, you fix it, and here you go. You have your new version. We also have, last week, we covered also a debug feature in SmythOS that allows you to debug your agents step by step and understand when things go wrong, where it's blocking or what is not working properly. So all these makes it very easy for you, even if you are not a developer. Now you can provide very advanced features and build your backend for tools like Lovable or V0 and others.
And I just want to illustrate how cool this is. So imagine, the example that Alaa-eddine walked you through with the crypto, with just doing a simple thing like price. Imagine building a cool front end in Lovable that's all about doing your own personal analysis of the cryptos you're following. So you could have a really pretty, or a nice looking front end that you build in Lovable that's then calling all these different skills. I want to look at the moving average of this crypto over the last 100 days. All these different skills you're building in. And when you open that page that you built in Lovable, now through your domain address, it will bring all that data up front into your front end that you built in Lovable, all without really coding.
Yeah, that's the power of SmythOS, and why we say that it covers end-to-end development. It's because if you are in a team and you have like people who are good at coding, but others who are like technical but not necessarily coders, they can work together now. So the non-coders can still build logic, because at the end of the day, this is logic. And we've observed some people who are not coders at all building extremely good agents because they have this sense of logic. And now they can work together. So the non-coders build with the visual interface, the coders will build with the SDK, and combining the two gives you like very, very powerful agents that you can then use internally for your own like businesses or personal assistants, or like just custom agents, or like you can share them with the community or in SmythForged, or build your own projects with this.
Brian, I think you have some firsthand experience now with that after last week. So I think it's super exciting, at least for me, because I remember when I got started doing any type of designing websites and things like that, and all the headaches that you had just to have one image display correctly and the parameters and all that. Now you can just tell it like in plain language, this is what I want it to be. And it magically works through the power of AI that we have. And one of the things that I think that we often don't tell or talk about enough is what you mentioned, Brian, taking like these front ends around back end tools and connect, like we are the operating system for the agents. So think about that Linux kernel in the Linux space, and what it does for that operating system is equivalent of what SmythOS does for this world of all the components that create agents. And so it's not just a single LLM or a single tool. It's now combining models with your front end design, with the logic of multiple tools coming together. So it's the idea of building a model, training a model, and then putting an agent on the front of it to do and display it in a way that you want. It's no longer this one application has to do this and another application has to do this. It's SmythOS brings it all together. And I think that we have to start looking at it as building an ecosystem, not just an agent. This is bigger than that. And if you participate in the hackathons, you're helping build this ecosystem.
Well, Amber, you're exactly right. I mean, the thing is so cool about this is you're building agents in a unified operating system. So unlike other orchestration tools that allow you to build agents, you're simply just building a workflow of agents. With SmythOS, you're actually building agents that can have a unified operating system together. So just think what DOS did in the very beginning with computers did for applications on PCs, and then Windows and iOS, what it did for applications for those devices. Now just imagine this in the future of what SmythOS will do for any kind of device with our agents on it and working on one unified operating system.
Yeah, and I think those who participate in our hackathons are going to be ahead of the curve. They're going to be on the tip of the spear, if you will, because you're not going to be just siloed off and using one builder for one thing. You're going to have a whole world of this this ecosystem open up and be able to connect agents, and you can create multiple agents to do multiple things. You can create a whole team of agents to go and do this thing that you want it to do. So think about that for all those who are watching now, and those who are even thinking about, you're watching the recording later and you're wanting to participate in a hackathon, you're telling your friends about it. Think about all the things that one team can do with just what is your idea and how do you get it from that ideation stage to that deployment stage. And you can do that in about a week or less. If it's really complex and you're just getting started, we're going to give you a week to do it with a hackathon. But people have done it in days, in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, done this. So keep in mind, we, again, make it accessible and we give you all the tools. So we hope that you will consider participating in a hackathon, hosting a hackathon, or sponsoring a hackathon going forward, because we would love to see you there. And if you do, just email us at hackathon@smythos.com and we'll answer and we'll get you started. And thanks everybody for joining today. We're at time. Brian, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you. Alaa-eddine, as always, thank you for your developer, your coder, your engineering expertise that you bring to the table and that you share with everybody. And we'll see you next week.